Hey there. If you're managing IT for a school district, you know you're on the front lines of a brand new kind of battle. The threats we're all facing, especially things like ransomware, they're just getting smarter and faster. And let's be honest, our old playbook of just installing some antivirus software and calling it a day, it just doesn't cut it anymore. So let's dive into a new strategy, a way to build a defense that's actually resilient enough for our schools.
So here's our game plan. We're going to walk through 5 key areas. We'll kick things off by really understanding the unique security challenges in K-12. Then we'll look at why that traditional antivirus is failing us. After that, we get to the good stuff, the solutions. We'll talk about building a smarter network perimeter, containing the damage if a threat gets through. And finally, we'll wrap it all up into a modern defense playbook you can use.
All right, let's start with the big picture, the unique challenge we face in education. It's a situation that really makes our industry a specific and, unfortunately, very attractive target.
This phrase, it says it all, doesn't it? Target rich, cyber poor. It just perfectly captures the dilemma for K-12 cybersecurity. On one hand, we are sitting on a goldmine of sensitive data, student records, financial info, staff PII, making us a super rich target. But on the other hand, we're often working with tight budgets and stretched thin staff. And this gap has created a pretty scary reality. K-12 schools are now averaging more than one cyber incident every single school day.
And the number one weapon being used against schools? It's ransomware. This is that nasty software that gets in, encrypts all of our critical files, and basically holds our data hostage. For a school district, this isn't just some financial problem. No, it's a direct attack on education itself. It can shut down everything from our student information systems to daily classroom teaching for weeks.
So, this brings us to a really crucial point. The tools we've been leaning on for years, they're just not enough to protect us from these modern threats anymore. Let's really dig into why.
Here's the heart of the problem. Traditional antivirus, or AV, is what we call signature-based. Think of it like a security guard at a club with a list of known troublemakers. If your name's not on the list, you're getting in. The issue is that modern malware is polymorphic. It constantly changes its signature, its look, to get past that list. This is where Endpoint Detection and Response, or EDR, changes the game. EDR is behavior-based. It's not a bouncer with a list. It's a detective inside the club watching for suspicious actions. That means it can spot and stop brand new attacks that nobody's ever seen before.
So, when we rely only on these old tools, we're leaving some huge holes in our defense. That signature-based AV is basically blind to modern threats. And our simple firewalls? They might check where traffic is going, but they don't look at what's inside it. Then you have fileless attacks, which are super sneaky. They run right in a computer's memory, completely bypassing any kind of file scan. It's pretty clear we need a whole new game plan.
All right, enough about the problems. Let's talk solutions. This new strategy starts with our first line of defense, building a smarter, more proactive network perimeter. We have to get ahead of these attacks, not just react to them.
The cornerstone of this smarter perimeter is the Next-Generation Firewall, or NGFW. Now, unlike those old firewalls that just looked at addresses, an NGFW does something called deep packet inspection. Basically, it has the intelligence to understand what's actually inside the traffic. It can see the specific application being used and the content being sent, no matter what port it tries to hide on.
So how does this actually work in the real world? It's a pretty slick process. First, the firewall's App ID feature identifies the application, say a file transfer from a browser. Next, its Content ID looks inside that traffic and scans the actual files for any threats. And finally, the firewall enforces your security policy, blocking risky files or apps before they ever get a chance to land on a user's computer. And this right here is one of the most powerful things you can do. Using that Content ID feature, you can make rules to block common ransomware file types coming from downloads. We're talking about screensaver files, .scr, executables, and even zip files coming from places you don't trust. A simple configuration like this can shut down a massive number of common attacks right at the front door.
Now, for your most critical servers, the ones with your student information system or HR platforms, we can go even further with application whitelisting. This flips the old security model on its head. Instead of trying to block a never-ending list of bad stuff, you create a very short list of approved applications and the system blocks everything else by default. It's an incredibly strong security posture for your most sensitive data.
But let's be realistic. No defense is ever 100% perfect. We have to assume that one day a threat might get through. And when that happens, our focus has to shift from prevention to damage control.
This is the question that every single IT team needs to have an answer for. If one teacher's laptop gets infected, how do we stop it from spreading like wildfire and taking down our entire network?
The key idea here is called the blast radius. Just think of it like that. How much damage can one small explosion cause? Our goal is to make that blast radius as tiny as possible. We want to contain the damage to just one machine.
This slide shows the power of network segmentation perfectly. On the left, you see a flat network. One infected machine can see and encrypt files on every single server. It's a disaster. But on the right, with segmentation, that machine is walled off. It can't spread. Think of segmentation as installing digital fire doors in your network. It contains a small fire in one room and stops it from burning down the entire building.
Layering your containment strategies is absolutely crucial. This means scanning all the traffic you allow in for threats. It means using data loss prevention, or DLP, to make sure sensitive student data isn't being snuck out of your network. And, like we just saw, it means strictly limiting traffic between user devices and only the file servers they absolutely need.
Okay, we have covered a lot of ground, so let's pull all of this together into a clear, actionable playbook. These are the key things you need to remember to build a modern defense for your district.
Your playbook has 3 core moves. First, upgrade your endpoints. Get rid of that old signature-based AV and move to a behavior-based EDR solution. Second, use smart filtering at your network edge with a next-generation firewall that uses App ID and Content ID. And third, use network segmentation to control that internal traffic and shrink the blast radius of any potential breach.
And that really brings us to the final, critical question you need to ask yourself. The threats targeting our schools are evolving every single day. We have to take an honest look at our own strategies and ask, are our defenses built for the challenges we face today, or are we still stuck fighting the battles of yesterday? The safety of our students' data and the future of their education really depends on our answer.